My bad. Okay, so we are now recording. So now that I have this burger app on my thing, I'm just going to open it in VS Code. And we're going to start the application. So the first thing that we want to do when creating an application for your homeworks especially is in this blank folder, you're just going to right click and you're going to do open in terminal. And that's going to allow us to create a package JSON because since we're going to be using Node.js to import all of our dependencies, we need a package JSON to do that. So I'm just going to do npm init-y. And that's going to create a package JSON right here. And what we're going to do for this application first is work on the database. So what I want to do is create the whole entire backend. And then once we create the whole entire backend, we are going to then work on the front end. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't know how long the backend is going to take me. And hold on, there's a chat. Wait, you did the package JSON before doing any coding? Yes. So I created the package JSON before doing any coding. And the reason why I did that is because I want to be able to use dependencies right off the bat. So also feel free to come off mute to like ask the question too, just to like, you know, for sure. So I'm going to build the whole backend first, and then we're going to use Postman to basically test our whole application. And then if we still have enough time, we'll hook it up to a front end. Sound good? There's that. So far, what was the first thing we all did? James, we just created a package JSON in an empty directory. Cool. You guys got it. How do I move this out my way? Okay, so first things first, I'm going to establish the connection to MySQL. So I'm going to create a folder called config. And then inside of there, I'm going to create a connection.js. And we're just going to establish our connection. So because I don't remember how the hell to do this, I'm going to just go Google like, how to establish connection MySQL in Node.js. And then look for something that's like promising. That doesn't just give you crap. I'm going to click on this one. And then we'll see what comes up. Okay. So this seems pretty promising. So I'm going to paste that in there. Oh my goodness. And then I'm also going to do this right here. And I'm just going to change this to const because if things aren't changing, I usually like to declare them as const. And then do you guys know what I'm missing on line 1 here before I even run this code? Come off mute and say it really quick if you want.
You got to require MySQL.
Right. So package JSON, we don't have any dependencies yet, right? So I'm going to do npm install MySQL. And then we should see the dependency pop up right there. So now that I have it there, that means I can import it. So I'll just say const MySQL equals require MySQL. And then I'm just going to change this to my stuff. So localhost, user, password. I think for my computer, it's password. And then for the database, I actually haven't created it yet. but we're gonna call it burgers underscore DB. So, so I haven't done the server file yet. We'll do that a little bit later. Oh, you mean in this thing right here? Port 3306, pretty sure. Okay, thank you for catching that. Since I'm doing a live coding, please expect a lot of errors, but it's in your best interest because it's gonna help you when you see my errors. So when I run this code, it's gonna give me an error because burgers underscore DB is not created in my database. So if I just do node connection.js, see how I get unknown database burgers underscore DB. So I'm gonna go to the workbench. Come on. Perks of working on a MacBook sometimes. So since I'm already in the workbench, I'm just gonna create the schema for our application anyway. Are you guys okay with that? Yeah. So the first thing, since I tried running this code and it says unknown database burgers underscore DB, and that means that I haven't created that in my database yet. So what I'm doing is I'm just gonna go to Workbench and I'm gonna go create it. And since I'm already here, I'm just gonna finish the schema for our whole application anyway. That way we don't have to come back here. So the first line, when you're defining a schema, you want to as drop database if exists. And the reason for that is because when people clone down your applications, if they already have a database with that name, they're going to get an error when they try to run your schema. But this way, dropping it, if they have one that already exists on their machine, it's just going to override it. And they don't have to get an error. So this is more convenient for whoever's like cloning down your application and testing it. And then now that I drop it, I have to say create database, and I'm gonna say burgers underscore DB. I'm gonna say use and then burgers underscore DB because that is the database that I want to use. And the thing I'm gonna create next is the table. So I'm gonna say create table, and then I'm just gonna call it burgers. I'm gonna open up the parentheses, hit enter, enter again, put a comma or semicolon there. And then inside of here, with every table that you have, you're always gonna have an ID. And that is gonna be an integer. And the auto is gonna be auto incremented because you don't wanna set the ID because there's a chance that you could accidentally set two tables or two objects with the same ID. And if you do that, you pretty much just like broke your whole database. So that's why you always want like the database to control the ID for you because the database will guarantee that every single ID is different.
I have a question on the ID.
Yeah.
When auto increment, I've seen before it say not null as well. And why would you use not null?
So this just guarantees that when I create an object, pretty much if there was like some error, this not null, like if the ID field when creating an object, if it was empty, it would throw an error at me saying, hey, this ID cannot be null, therefore we cannot create your object in the database. So it's like doing validation. So I could actually do that to all of these fields. That way it throws an error every single time someone tries to send something that's empty.
So it just requires that you input something in order for that to go into the table.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the next thing I'm going to do is we need to store the burger name. The burger name, and then since it's a string in MySQL, it's called varchar. And then you open up parentheses and you specify how many characters you're going to put in there. I always just do 255. I think that's just enough. And again, we can do not null. That's fine. And then another thing we're going to need for this application is a thing called devoured, which is going to be a Boolean. And we can actually also set that to not null. And we can also set it to a default false. Why do you guys think I want to do that? Any ideas why I did default false?
It's not devoured yet.
Right, because when they create a burger, it's not devoured from the beginning. So I might as well just say it's false if they don't input anything. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the last thing we have to do, and this is probably the most important thing when you're creating your table, is you have to say primary key, and then you have to open up parentheses and wrap the ID in it. So what this is going to do is say, hey, that ID that we're auto incrementing, we're going to make that primary key. So whenever we're trying to find an object in our database, we're going to use the ID field. So I'm going to give this a whirl. I'm going to hit this little lightning bolt. And notice how I got all green check marks here. So that's good. I'm going to hit the pancake on top. And here it is. Here's our database. We open that up. We got our tables. We got our burgers right here. We're going to hit this little calendar, and that's going to pull up this little grid right here that shows, hey, here's our ID, here's our burger name, here's our devoured. So since we, this code right here is our schema, I'm actually going to copy all of it. I'm going to go back to VS Code. I'm going to create a folder called DB. Inside of that, I'm going to just call it schema.sql, and I'm going to paste that in there. That way, when someone goes to clone down my project, all they have to do is go, oh, I'll create this database, copy this, go back here, paste it, done. So that's why we do that. So now that we're not using that anymore, can you go away? Thank you. Cool. So now let's just try to rerun this code again and see if we get another error. All right. So we're connected. And now, do you guys remember like the main, like what was the hardest part of this whole application? Do you guys remember what it was? Feel free to like, come off and share.
I just had trouble because I feel like there wasn't, I think it's for all of the homework assignments because there's really no guidance. It's just like, figure it out. Here it is, figure it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like I need more guidance is all. So I'm happy you're doing this.
Yes. And I'm glad that we're doing it from scratch. Okay, yeah, routes was pretty hard too. So yeah, I'm glad that we're doing this from scratch because I mean, after this, I'm pretty sure you're gonna know like how to do your final project really well because it's pretty much the same thing from here on out. It's just like a little different. So this burger application, we had to create our ORM. Yeah, you can record.
Okay. Can you, I don't know how you have to give it to me.
Oh, I'm recording it right now, and at the very end,
okay.
I can like send it out.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's see one more chat. The ORM is what's hard for me. Yeah, so the ORM is super duper tricky, but pretty much all an ORM is so we don't have to repeat ourselves. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we want to perform CRUD on an object. Who wants to define what CRUD is?
Create, use, wait a minute, update, delete, and
Missing one more.
it starts with an R. What do you do that starts with an R? React? No, it's not React.
Read.
Read.
Read. All right, cool. So CRUD is read. So I don't know if you guys remember, but before we knew SQLize, to do a query, you had to do something like this. You had to do like insert into table name where bullshit equal. So yeah, you get it, right? Like that's like really annoying to remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what an ORM does is it creates methods for you that already do this. So that's what we're going to work on next. So inside of here, I'm going to create an ORM.js. And pretty much what I'm going to do is in this connection file, I'm going to say export or module exports equals connection. And the reason why I'm exporting this connection is because the way that I make queries to the database is connection.query. And that's where I pass in that insert into bullshit. So the reason why I'm exporting it is because I want all the queries to be in their own separate file. So it's nice and clean, it's easy to work on, they're not all in one file. So it'll make more sense when we start doing that. So this connection right here creates the MySQL connection. We actually connect it here, we just export the connection. So in our ORM, I'll just say const connection equals require, and then I'm just gonna do connection. So now I'm able to do connection.query in here. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is where we create our own ORM. We're going to say const ORM equals, oh shoot. Const ORM equals, and this is where we're going to put our CRUD operations. So I'm going to say find all function. And then I'm actually going to do create one. And then we're going to do update one. So the reason why we did this is because we're going to be able to do something like this. ORM dot find all, right? And then that's going to give us all of our data. That's way easier than connection dot query insert, right? So this takes care of this. Now, this is the hard part. The ORM, we have to actually create that. So we have to define it one time, and then we can use it for the rest of eternity. So the way we are going to do that is I'm going to first start with the create one. And the reason why I'm starting with the create one is because I think it is easier to actually create stuff in the database before you start pulling stuff from it. And the reason why I think that is because if there's something not in your database and you're trying to pull from it, then you actually have to manually put stuff in there to make it work. And I'd rather just create something in there, and then as soon as I create that thing, I actually go find it and pull it down. So that's just my personal preference. You can do it whatever way you want. But we're going to start with this create one. So just give me 1 second, and then we will continue. Okay, so I'm going to show you one way to do it, and then I'm going to tell you why we can't do it that way. So I'm going to say const query string equals insert into, and then I'm going to say table name, and I'm going to say do you guys recognize this at all? Okay. So table name is something that we have to pass in, right? Because we can't just put table name here. So basically what I'm saying is when we do orm.create create one, we're going to be specifying, hey, we're going to be doing it on the burgers table. So that's what we're going to be doing. So what I'm going to do is create a parameter up here called table name. And then you guys are familiar with the backticks here. This allows me to inject into a string by doing $, open, close, curly brackets. I can actually put that table name. So we're going to say insert into table name. And what goes in here is the field names that we want to update and then the values of what we want to update. So the way that we get those, we're going to, so we would put burger when we, inside the, where at?
So where you say table name inside the curly braces,
Yeah,
wouldn't you put burger?
right. So
The table, the name of the table?
so since an ORM is supposed to work for every single table you create.
Oh, does it have to be like a pure function or something like that?
Not necessarily, but I think it will make sense when I do this. If I do orm.create1, I can pass something in here.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I can pass something in here is because I'm saying, hey, store that one thing that I pass in. So if I were to pass two things in here, I would need to say like second thing.
But would you be renaming the table?
So because we're going to be doing something like this, and we're going to be passing in, like, let's say this application had more than just this one table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say there's another table called cats. I don't know. So let's say we needed to create one on the burgers table, and then we needed to create one on the cats table. So the way that this is working right now is it's saying, hey, we can pass in anything here and inject it here. So that way I'm not just doing this. See how that restricts it to just one table? So now I can inject a variable in there and just say table name. So now the question is, what goes here? It's going to be the field names. So which field names am I going to write in there? Come off and tell me.
I think just burger name, right? Because devoured is already false by default.
Right. So the way that I'm going to code this, I'm just going to put devoured in there anyway, just for like logical purposes, but you don't have to. So they're gonna be doing the burger name and the devoured. Why aren't we doing the ID?
Because it's automatically being put in there.
Right. So we don't want to mess with that because that's gonna break stuff. So burger underscore name and devoured, you have to spell them correctly, otherwise this won't work. So we're gonna say burger underscore name and then devoured. All right. And then what goes here? Oh, well, I just spoiled it. Shit. A question mark. So you need a question mark for each of the values each of the fields you're passing in, right? So burger name, I would have to put like that. And then for devoured, I would do that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Why the question marks? So the reason why we are doing the question marks is because the way MySQL was built, when we actually do this connection.query, what we do is we pass in the query string that we just built. The second thing we pass in is an array, which is our values. So we have like awesome burger. And then the second element we're going to be passing in is false. And the third argument it takes is a function, an error, and then results. And this whole chunk right here, the way MySQL was built is it's going to detect you passed in an array of data here. And for each question mark, that's an array element slot. So this one question mark is going to be this first array element. The second question mark is going to be the false. So if I do console.log results, if we were to call this function, it should work. So any questions before I try it? I'll give you like 5 seconds. Oh, that's so great. Okay, so I'm gonna do, oh shoot, I have to uncomment the, so I'm saying orm.create1, and I'm passing in the table that we're gonna be doing it, performing it on. So it should do something when we run orm.js. So we got an undefined. Anyone see what I'm missing? Is it 3 question marks? Well, I'm gonna check my database really quick to make sure it's good. So nothing got inserted there. Does anyone see it? Should you put an error message there? Ooh. All right, cool. Let's do that. If error console.log, actually, we'll just do throw error. Throw error. Otherwise, give us the results. So let's try it. So here's our error. You have an error in your SQL syntax. I can't read it because you guys are in the way. So check the manual that corresponds, blah, 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 blah. Near burger underscore name and devoured.
Is it because you have double quotes inside of those single quotes right there, where you have like burger name as like a string inside of like backticks right there?
You mean right here?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Let's try it.
But then I think you might need those.
I guess we'll find out, huh? Oh boy. Here. Let's see. So this is part of the live coding, right? Where I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Oh. Okay. Well, let's go check our thing. Oh shit, there it is. Okay. So was it the fact that I had, I think it might be the fact that I didn't leave a white space off of here. I'm gonna try it one more time. Okay, so no, it is the fact that we had those wrapped in quotes. Good catch, holy crap. All right, cool. So now we should have two things in there. So why do you guys think this is not gonna work? Morally, why is this not gonna be ideal? So I told you I was gonna show you the one way to do it, but it's not the right way since we're creating an ORM. You guys know?
Is it because doesn't ORM sit inside of the public folder so everybody can see like your table values and stuff, or like your table names and everything?
Not quite. Tim, I think you're on to something. So Tim said hard coding burger underscore name. So we're hard coding this, right? Oh shoot. So we're hard coding this whole section here. And we're also hard coding these question marks. Because like what if they're trying to update like 50 items? You know, that's 50 question marks, right? So we need to get these values somehow. Or we need to turn this into something that's going to work every single time. So instead of table name, instead of just table name, we're going to pass in columns, values, and for now, that's it. So columns is going to be an array, values is going to be an array. So the way that we're going to inject it now is we're going to have columns. It's going to be burger underscore name. I actually think I have to wrap these in quotes. And then values are also going to be an array. So I'm going to say test and then false. Okay. So now the question is, so I'm passing in all this data, right? That matches up with this. But how do we do it in here? So this is the tricky part, and this is kind of like the overhead stuff that you don't really need to know about. This is why ORMs were created in the first place, so you don't have to do this. But for educational purposes, I'm going to do it anyway for you guys. So this right here is an array, burger underscore name and devoured. So we stored that in columns. We can actually erase this. Actually, I'm going to comment this out so you guys can have a comparison. Const query string insert into and then in here I'm going to pass in, what do you think I'm going to pass in?
Columns and values. Oh.
So real quick, I'm going to comment all this code out, and we're just going to see what columns.toString does, because you all had some weird faces when you saw that. You were like, what the hell is that? So if I rerun this, see how I got burger name, comma, devoured? Do you see that? That's what columns.toString does. It turns your array and pretty much puts them into one giant string and then separates them by a column. Here, just in case you can't see that. Clear. You see that? So doesn't that look exactly the same as that? So if I added a third item in here now, like poop, because poop is awesome. Notice how we have them all stringed together. So knowing that, what toString does, we can uncomment this and say, hey, we're just going to pass in the columns toString. And then the other tricky part is we have to say values and then these question marks, right? How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to create a function and we're just going to say generate question marks. Question marks. And then it's going to take a number. And all we're going to do is create an array. We're going to say const array. We're going to create an empty array. We're going to create a for loop and just say, hey, for every, I might have to change this to let because so let I equal 0. I is less than the number we passed in, I plus plus. And then I'm just going to say array dot push and a question mark. And then I'm going to return array dot toString. I can do that, right? So now, again, let's just comment this out for a second. Let's call that generate question marks. I'm going to pass in 3. And then I'm just going to console.log it. See how I got the 3 question marks? So all it is just a simple array. We just iterate through the number of values that we pass in. And every time we iterate over a value, we just push a question mark into the array, and then we just toString it. Because we know what toString does, right? Takes all the elements, puts them into a string, separates them by comma. So knowing that, we can now say, hey, generate question marks. And what am I going to pass in here? Remember, question marks takes a number. So what holds a number right now that we need to pass in here?
Devoured. Oh no, sorry.
No, it's good. So Paulo said 2, but that's in the case of just this table, right? It's not in the case of every table. Values. There you go, James. So values contains, like, that's what we pass in anyway, right? Like the value, this is technically the values, and those fill up the question marks. So inside of here, we can just do values dot length. So in this case, with the burger table, there's only 2 array elements, so it should only print 2 question marks. And then instead of this being a random array that's hard-coded, I'm just going to replace that with values. So knowing that, this should work. Random test. So I'm going to clear this out. And I'm going to say node orm.js. And look at that. We didn't get any errors. And if we go to our workbench, we refresh, we got random test in there. So our create method is working. That's awesome, right? Okay. So I'm not going to do the rest just yet because I want to get into the routing part of it now, because we do have part of our application working. Let's start hooking it up to like a route. So this is probably the trickiest part of the whole entire, well, okay, the second trickiest part of this whole entire application. Essentially what we're going to do is this data results, we're going to have to pass this results through 2 files up to where we're making our API call. And that probably does not make sense right now because you're like, what? It's like super duper hard to do if you've never done it. And that's why I'm going to spend a lot of time making sure you guys understand it. So pay attention to this part right here. So this create one, we designed it so that it works for every single table that we create, right? So now we need to also do that with our API call. We need to make our API basically scalable for each of our tables. So I'm going to create another folder in here called models. It's got a chat. Can you word wrap, please? What's word wrap? Am I just being dumb right now?
The code gets cut off
Oh, where?
at line 18. I can't see all of it.
Oh, that?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. For sure. I think that's gonna not break it. Here, I'll try to do it at a place that, there we go. How's that look?
Yep. Thanks.
And then I'll do that. Bitch. Damn it. Autosave will just makes it keep going back up. All right, just in case that broke anything doing that, I'm gonna just create another record. Okay, so we're good. Didn't get any errors, so we can keep it like that. Can you guys all see everything else? So we created a models, and inside of here, this is gonna keep track of what tables perform these ORM operations. So right now, we only have one model called burgers. So we are going to create that here. We're going to call it burgers.js. All right, where is chat? Lorley, you better ask like questions, bro. Like stop me in my tracks if you don't understand something. I want you all to do that. This is for you guys. I'm trying to make you guys understand everything here. So stop me, please. So just recap, I created burger.js here. I'm actually going to rename it burgers because I want it to match the name in my database here. So what I'm first going to do is create, or this ORM, I'm going to connect it to this file right here. So the way that I do that is with this ORM right here. I'm just going to export it at the bottom. So you guys all understand why I'm doing that? Okay. So now that I exported it, if I go into my burgers.js, I can say const ORM equals require. And then I'm just going to go require it. And if you see that in this burgers application, I can do ORM dot create one, find all, or update one.
Justin,
Yeah,
I have a question.
what's up?
So for the models, we're requiring it.
Yeah.
But then in the ORM, you're exporting it. So it's like you need it in one folder, but then you're exporting to the other. So it's like a two-way street here. What's going on?
So this ORM is going to keep track of all of our CRUD operations, right? And I want to separate those all into their own files. And the burgers file is in charge of telling the ORM what table to use. So I'm separating those into different files. And I think you'll see why as I program it further. But it's because this ORM, it's not supposed to know anything about like the table, because the table's, well, the table is telling the ORM. The ORM isn't telling the table, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So as we keep going, this is the hardest part right here. How does it do the thing? Yeah, I feel that. Okay, so I'm gonna say const burger. I'm just creating another object. And this is gonna be really weird for you guys. You're gonna be like, why are you doing this? But these operations here, I'm just gonna copy them. I'm gonna paste them here. And then I'm gonna erase all the code. So I'm keeping them the same name as the ones in the ORM for consistency. So it doesn't just get super awful when renaming things. If I wanted to make this a large scale application, if I started renaming things and not being consistent, it would be a pain in the ass. So I'm gonna actually make this split screen for a second, right here. I'm gonna put the ORM on the right side. You guys can still see that? It's not blocking you or anything? Okay. I'll put you guys down here for a second. So notice how this takes a table name, right? And then the columns and then the values. This create one method. So I'm gonna do ORM dot create one. And remember how I said the model is in charge of telling the ORM what table? we're working on. We're in the burgers JS model. So what we're going to pass into here is burgers. And that's going to be the table name. And that lines up with the table name here. So again, if I had another table called like cats or something, I can do a cats model. And then when I do this right here, I'll do create one and I'll put cats in there. Do you guys want me to show you that, or is that a good enough explanation? Come on. Show it. You want me to show it? Okay. So what I mean by that is if I create like a cats.js, I'm going to copy all of this in the burgers model. I'm going to paste it into the cats. I'm going to change this to cat. And then instead of create one here, I'm going to put cat. See how now we have two tables? And this is going to work for either one. So now that I showed that, I'm just going to delete the cats because we are not going to use that. Okay, so orm.create1, it takes a table name, and then it takes columns and values. So for now, I'm going to hard code that. I'm going to say const columns equal burger underscore name devoured const values equal poop burger. And then I'm gonna pass false. Okay, so that way I can do columns and then values, and then this data will get passed here, right? So check this out. If I now do burger.create1 and I call that, I should get poop burger in my workbench when I run the burgers.js file, not the ORM. So I'm going to open the ORM in our terminal. I'm going to say node burgers.js. All right, didn't get an error. So let's go check it out. Look at that. Poop burger, baby. Oh! All right. So now this results, right? Here's the tricky part, guys. This results, I need to pass this to the burgers file. How the hell am I going to do that? I'll let you think about it for just 1 second. If you have any, if you want to put it a question, like if you want to comment in it. So you can't just require the data because we're not exporting it. So the what we're doing right now is when burger calls the create one method, it's saying, hey, ORM, here's this data that I'm feeding you. Go call that data. So now we're here in the ORM. Here's that data that we passed in. This query string gets made. We actually query the data, and results holds the success message. So I need to pass this success message back to here in the burgers. So the question is, how the hell do I do that? You can't require it because
You gotta do the module export.
unfortunately we can't do that either. So think about it
Oh,
for
wrong file. Wrong file.
yeah, it's in a different file, but also this code is asynchronous, right? So if I'm trying to module export something, it doesn't just like when I run the application at first, it module exports the first thing when the code runs. And when the code runs at first, the results isn't set at that time. So we can't just module export. Right, you need a promise. However, MySQL doesn't have promises. So we need to do a little trickery-dackery. And right here's the hardest part, so please pay attention. So this orm.create1, right? We passed in the burgers, columns, and values. I'm going to pass it a function, right? I'm just going to pass it an empty function. And since I passed it an empty function here, I'm going to pass the parameter and say call back function. So what I'm going to do real quick, oh shoot, is I'm going to console.log callback function. Because you've probably seen this before, but it still just doesn't make sense to you. Like, what the fuck is that? So I'm going to restart, hit node. See, it's just a function, which is the one we passed here. So does that make sense before I move on further? Because the next part gets weird. Even more weird than that. Any questions? Okay. So just like functions where I pass in arguments and parameters, right? I can pass in like results data. Okay. Since I passed in results data there, that means that I have to pass it here, right? Well, not quite. So this is a function. Essentially, this right here is actually this function right here. So the way that we pass the data from this file to this file is simply by doing this. So if we get an error, we throw an error. If we get a success, why don't we just call that function and pass it the results? We can do that, right? Like, here's a function that we passed in. We said it takes a parameter. Here's that function here. We're just calling it in the success area and passing it the results. That's the same thing as doing this. Putting a number here, saying, hey, generate question marks values.length. That's the same thing. We just did it across two different files. So how do I, come on guys, there we go. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to do console.log, hey, I'm in burger. And then I'm going to say results data. So here's that ORM. Here's that callback function. We just passed it the results of what we got back from the database. So if I go to run this record, see, hey, I'm the burger. There's that data, right? So we pretty much said, hey, this is the burgers application. We're going to go tell the ORM what table we want to query. Here are the values we want to query to the ORM. The ORM's like, hey, I got you. Here's that data. And then through the callback function, it throws it back inside of there. Like a handshake. Damn near, dude. Okay, so a promise happens when you have an asynchronous piece of code. So if you remember the dot then, a dot then is a way to catch the promise, where you can do dot then, function, results. If this was asynchronous and supported promises, we could attach a dot then to stop it from being asynchronous and also capture the data. But since we don't, yeah, for sure. So since MySQL doesn't have promises, we have to do this little handshake method where we pass it a function and say, hey, here's that shit back when we're done querying. Okay? So now that we said, hey, burgers, talk to the ORM, we're now going to make our actual API routes. And we're going to say, hey, burger, go talk to the ORM. So it's going to be it's going to be burger controller that says, hey, burger. And then it's going to say, hey, ORM. So here's the next phase. So again, this data, it's hard-coded, right? But that is actually fine. Why is it fine? Come on. Don't be a little ghosty ghost. Just tell me why is it fine? Because once it come on, guys. Speak up. Why is it okay for me to hard code it here?
Is that just because it's like a model? So it's just like kind of just like an example?
Exactly. So this is the burgers model, right? So this is how it's going to look. If I had a cats model, this would look different. But we would hard code it regardless. So that's why these are allowed to stay the same. So now we are going to, oh geez, no, don't delete chat. Yeah, so they can be placeholders if they're in the model. They can't be in the ORM because the ORM needs to work for everything. Know that. So now we are going to create a folder that's going to talk to the burgers.js and the ORM. So the way that we're going to do that, yeah, a model is a template. That's exactly what it is. It's a template for how your data is supposed to look. So I'm going to create another folder here called controller. And then inside of here, I'm going to say burger controller.js. Okay. So in order to make this work, this is where we're going to do our app.get. Oh, geez. Our app.get. Like stuff that looks like that. So the way that we do that, I have to head out. Thanks for helping. For sure, girl. I got you. Everything's going to be recorded. So, you know, that was probably the hardest part. And I think you understood it. So, and if you didn't, just rewatch it. You got this. Yeah. You feel me? Gang, 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 gang. Poop out. Okay. So now we're going to make everything talk to, all right, for sure, bro. Drink well. Because I know you drinking. So we're going to have to use Express to create a router so we can actually start doing routes. So I'm going to say const express equals require. And then x, oh, so it didn't pop up here when I'm typing it. That is probably because I don't have it in my dependency, and I don't. So open in terminal, npm I express. So now that we have it here, when I actually go to type express, see how it pops up now. And we can actually do this special method called .router like this. And I'm actually going to rename this to app. So now that I created an app, I'm going to say module exports equals app. And the reason why I'm doing that is because these are all going to be like routes. Right? So something about this right here. This is called burger controller, right? For every single table that you have, you should have a controller for it. So if I have cat also in here, we're going to have cat controller also. But we don't. So right now we're going to create a burger controller. And what did I say? This is something I said in the beginning of the lecture. What is significant about every single table? It has 4 elements. What are those 4 elements?
Primary key.
Huh?
Primary key.
Not quite, too low level. It's CRUD, right? Because we're doing routes now. So the 4 elements of every table is CRUD. So the way that you define CRUD is you do /API and then the name of the table. So I actually named it burgers, so I'll just do that, API/burgers. And each one gets 4 create, read, update, delete. So what I'm going to do is go boom, boom, boom. This is the read. This is the create. This is the update. And then this is the delete. But in this application, we are not worrying about delete. We are only worrying about the get, the post, and the put. So notice how these are all the same route. That is not going to matter when we go to hit our routes because there's only one of each, get, post, and put. So it just depends on how you trigger it. So right now, if I go to try to run this app, if you notice, it's not going to work. Notice, well, maybe if I do a console log. Gtest. So we got gtest, right? But I mean, if I were to go to this route, so we're going to open up Postman to test these routes. Shut up. Okay. Oh, shoot. What's my problem? Come on, guys. What's my problem?
Your server is not listening.
Right. So my server is not listening. So now I need to go create my server.js file. And he knew that because I didn't know what to put before this. With like local host. What number would I put before that? You know, I haven't defined it yet. So I'm going to go here, create the server.js. Right. So let me just show you really quick. If I do 3000 API/burgers, that looks like it lines up with this right here, doesn't it? But since there's no server actually running at this point, could not get a response. Or better yet, there we go. Still can't get a response. So we're going to go to server, and we're actually going to create our server. So I almost never remember how to do a server because I always copy paste, but I remembered it for you guys. So I'm going to say const express equal require express. And then every server needs a port. So I'm going to say const port equals. And then since we're going to probably be deploying this to Heroku, I need process.env.port. So it's when this server loads, it's going to say, hey, are we on Heroku? Are they injecting a port into me? If they are, we're going to use that. If they're not, we're going to say, go on port 3000. So in development mode, we don't have process.env.port, so it's manually going to get set to that. If it's true, we're going to be set to this. Okay, so now we're going to say const app equals express here, and that's going to like instantiate our express app. So pretty much gives this variable app all the server functionality. And then this 2 lines of code are like really overhead. You're almost always going to like copy paste this. This is so when you send requests through the request.body on all of your routes, it actually can parse JSON. So if you don't have these routes, every time you try to send JSON to your route, it will not work. So it's going to be, so for parsing JSON in request.body, I'm going to say app.use. I'm going to say express.urle encoded. Don't worry about remembering this. You can go Google search this. Okay, so that will allow us to parse JSON. And then we need to just say app.listen. Port function console.log port is listening on. And there we go. So now I can actually do nodemon server right here. Uh-oh. pwd. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. You guys see that? So I'm going to open in terminal on the server. Nodemon server. See how it's listening? So I should be able to go do this now, right? Localhost 3000 API burgers, right? This should work. Okay. Why did I get cannot post API/burgers? I thought everything was good. I had my server going. Well, we exported this app, right? But we never required it in our server. So I can say const burger controller equals require controller burger controller. And then right here for our controller routes or API routes, we're going to say app.use, and we're just going to pass in burger controller. So Now, if I go here, so if I go to this route, I should get a response saying, yay, we're connected. Oh, it's on post. Oopsie. So pay attention what type of request you're setting it as. I only coded the get part so far. So now if I do, okay, yay, we're connected. Okay. So we're not going to worry about that route because we've only been working on the create in the database portion, which that's associated with the post route. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go, I'm going to say import our model for specifically for the burger. So I'm going to say const burger equal require it's in the models burgers. And the reason why I did that is because now I have access to this burger dot. Ooh, did I not export it? Did I not do that? I didn't. So I need to do module.exports equals burger. So that way, when I actually require it here, I should have that IntelliSense. See? So just really quick, because I didn't export, I couldn't do burger dot, like it doesn't know. So I have to export it. So this is the route for creating, right? So we're gonna say burger dot create one, and then now we run into this issue. So I'm going to drag the burgers here. So we're saying, hey, burger, go create one, right? But how are we going to get the data from the burger to here? Well, we did it in our burger controller, or we did it in our ORM by giving the create one a callback, and then we just called it with the results earlier. So we can actually do the same thing here. So this create one, we're just going to pass it a function. And we're going to pass like results into it. And then we're going to go here into the burger app and say, hey, well, we passed a function in over here, so we have to pass one in up here. So we'll say call back function. And we're just going to say callback function, and then we're going to pass in the results data. So that way we take the data that we queried here, we're passing it through this, we're passing it to the model right here. And then in the model, we're passing it to here. Does that make sense? Probably need to rewatch this video at that part because it's a little tricky. You did 300 in the server? Where?
That was a while ago, I think.
Oh shit, I fixed it, my bad. Okay. So that part is still pretty tricky, but I feel like if you watch the video again, or you can practice writing the code yourself, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. That's how we're passing the data. So just to make sure it worked though, I'm just gonna put a console.log here and say, we got it to the tippy top, because technically we climbed from the ORM to the burger to get it to the controller. That's what we did. So I'm gonna put I'm gonna replace this with res.json, and I'm gonna type in results. So now if I go to this route with a post method, I should see this if it's working properly. So change it to a post, hit send. Oh shit. Oh, maybe I can't send it like that. All right, we'll try it like this. Okay, yeah. So see, we got our data. We literally got it from the freaking tippy top right there. So now, here's another thing. I technically said that the models, right? I technically said you could hard code these values, right? Well, this one, you actually can. But this one, you can't, because you don't know what the values are going to be. They're actually going to change every time. So what we're going to do is, before we pass this function, we're going to say request.body, comma function. So we must pass that here, which is pretty much the create data, comma function. So you guys know what request.body is? Just in case you don't. I'm going to comment this out for a second. I'm going to say res.json request.body. And if I go to Postman and I go to the post route, make sure that's set, go to body, go to raw, change this to JSON format. I can actually say burger underscore name, sick burger, bro, with a devoured of false, and hit send. And this is our response. We actually got that. So this is simulating your front end. You would send this on the front end, and request.body, it gets stored like that. So request.body holds burger underscore name and devoured. So let's go back to our code. So we can values has to be an array for this to work. And we can hard code this section because it is part of the burger model. Like, we know that. So we can actually do created data dot burger underscore name. And then we could leave this as false, but just for the hell of it, I'm gonna say created data dot devoured. So now we literally have our whole entire full create working. So if I go here and change this to, oh, this one up here. I'm sorry. So if I were to go post this, I should see this in my database. And shit, there it is. Oh my goodness. So we just accomplished a shit ton. Like, if you really think about it, we we created an ORM that talks to a server through models and controllers. And we haven't even touched the front end yet. My freaking brain hurts. How about yours? Yeah, my brain hurts too. So
Thank you for hurting your brain, Justin.
you're welcome. Does it make sense though?
Yeah, the models thing, having to understand that, you have to basically say to one area to another, yeah, I got the information, thank you. That's really helpful for me, because we have to do, where I work, we have to do handshakes with our modalities going to our database. So this is helpful to know that this is exactly how that works.
Right. Exactly. I'm so happy that it actually like works with your job. Okay. So we pretty much finished like the hardest part of the program. So now it's pretty much like straightforward from here. For find all, that's obviously going to take a table name. And then we know it's going to take a callback function because we need to pass the data back up somehow. So I can legit do const query string equals select all from table name. And I think that's it actually. Correct me if I'm wrong. Connection.query. We're going to pass in that query string. And then we're going to pass in a function that takes an error. Also, it takes the results. And then we're going to say if error, the row error. Else, we're going to say callback function, and we're going to pass back up the results. All right. And then in our burger model, this find all, we say ORM dot find all. We pass in burgers as the table name. And then we're going to pass in a callback function. Remember that this function right here is just this one that we passed into it, and we're calling it, sending the data back. And then we're going to say callback function up here. And we're going to say callback function. We're going to pass in the results data because we're just passing it now to the controller here. And we're going to say burger dot find all. We're going to take a callback function which holds the results. res.json results. If I coded this right, if I go back to Postman, change this to a get, I should get every single burger in our database. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is great. I'm having a blast. How about you guys? This is great. It's freaking working. So the last one is the put route. This one's a little tricky because I personally think that updating and deleting is the hardest part of doing any CRUD because it requires like some bullshit. So, but I'm gonna go over it. So we're going to go back to the ORM, and we just got to finish that here. So okay, so the equivalent, I'm going to comment this one out also because I'm going to show you the way that we can't do it first. That way you can match it with the way that we're doing it. It's going to be set columns, where ID is equal to a number or something like that. So the tricky part about here is that columns, the way that data needs to be structured is it needs to be like this: devoured underscore name is equal to the new value. Like that's how it's supposed to look here. It's supposed to look like that there. But up here, we did it where we just did the toString method. Right, columns.toString. So we can't do it that way in update. It actually needs to look like that. It can't just be like a comma. So that tricks us up a little bit too. So and also, I forgot the beginning of this right here. It goes update table name, and then we're going to say set blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to leave that comment out. I'm also going to leave this comment out because that's the structure of how it's supposed to look. But let's start filling out the parameters that are going to need to be passed to make this update one even work. It's going to take a table name, and we're going to say const query string, and we're going to say update, and then table name, it's going to be the variable that we passed in. We're going to say set, and then this is the tricky part right here, the columns, right? So we need to make it look like this. So the way that we're going to do that, we're going to create an object called data, and we're going to set it to devoured burger underscore name. And then we're going to say devoured true. That's the whole entire point of the update one anyway, is to update this portion to true. So the request.body comes in like this. So what we need to do, because we're going to be passing the data in here as a parameter, as in object form, we were able to pass it in an array form here because it made our life easier by doing the toString method. But in this case, it makes our lives easier by passing it as an object, because we're actually going to loop through it, and then we're going to create this out of it. So this is pretty cool that you can do. I'm going to create a function up here that's going to help us with this. Function generate actually convert object to my SQL. Do SQL, actually, I'm going to say it like that. So it's going to take an object, and then we're just going to say for 4 keys in object. I think I messed that up. Yeah, there we go. So 4 keys in object. We're also going to declare an array up here. Make it empty. And then we are going to say array.push. And remember, this is kind of like the overhead stuff. So in everyday life, I would copy the shit out of this because this sucks ass. But I'm showing it for educational purposes. So the question is, what does this 4 keys in object do? Well, let me just console log what keys is. And then let me console log what object is. But passing keys into it. So just so we can tell the difference. For every property inside the object, right? Yeah, that's exactly what it does. So when you do 4 keys in object, keys will actually be these on the left. And then when you do object keys, you get the value on the right side of the object. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do array.push, and I'm going to say keys, and then equals, and then object keys. And then I'm going to return array.toString. So we're going to take a look at this and see like how the shit is that doing that. So I'm going to just call the function right here, convert to object SQL. I'm going to pass in a object. I'll just copy the one from down here. Then I'm going to say var data equals that. There we go. And I'm going to console.log data. Okay. So I'm going to make sure I'm in the right directory for the ORM. I'm going to be doing node ORM. And see how I got this string test, bitch? See how I got it like this? That's the exact format that I needed to pass for this columns, because columns takes it like this. So now what I can do is go boom, boom, and I'm going to say my bad, convert is that not the name? Whatever. And all I'm going to pass in here is the values. All right. So values will come from here. That way we can pass that into here. And then we're going to say, here, just so I can clean this code up a little bit. I'm going to say where, and then I'm going to say condition. And I'm going to pass in condition up here. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this really quick, and then I'm going to connect this here and show it all. I'm going to say connection dot query I'm going to pass in the query string. And then I'm going to just give it a callback function. Hold on, Dad.
Really?
Yeah. I'm in a meeting.
She's in there for fucking half hour, 45 minutes, water on, and then we don't want hot water left.
For sure.
How's she doing, man? It's good.
So I apologize. As you know, life gets in the way sometimes. Doesn't Pops know you are working, broski? Nah, I should punch that guy in the mouth.
On the clock, dude.
I know, right? I had to watch my language there for a second. Pop! You know what I'm saying? Okay. So the last thing this is going to take is a callback function. I'll be right back. You guys take a mental break.
Hey, it's actually starting to make sense though. I don't know. Seeing it kind of go through start to finish kind of makes sense a little bit more. A little bit.
Well, he's really good if he used up all the hot water while he was sitting here on the computer. It's like the pilot light probably went out.
I feel like I do fine when it's getting explained to me.
Yeah, but when you're out on your own, like when
Well,
you get
yeah.
your life jacket taken away, you're like, I'm drowning.
The other thing too is like this is just so that we can get this one homework done, but then like there's Sequelize or there's Mongo or there's all these other things, but whatever.
Yeah. And trying to learn it all like essentially at once.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was like the hardest homework out of the whole entire curriculum.
Even harder than the Leary bot, because that's really hard.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Because like in this application, you need to know how to build an ORM. You need to know how to pass data from component to component or from file to file. And I didn't even learn that until like a month ago. So the fact that you guys are learning it now, you know, that puts you at an advantage.
Okay.
Yeah, all these
awesome.
parameters are super confusing, bro. Like,
So Justin, I'd like to know, how did you use up all the hot water while you're sitting here coding?
oh no, it's my girlfriend.
I just need to know. How'd you do that?
Well, you see, when life gives you lemons, lemonade.
He's
Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer. You mean?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I'm good.
So there's still the front end.
Yeah, there's still the front end, bro, but the front end's like super easy compared to, because everything's done, right? Well, almost done.
I hate front end though. Like I don't even want to think about that. So like
Yeah,
can we just use handlebars for that?
That's what I'm using.
Okay.
But
Right.
it's easy to implement, and it might take me like 15 minutes max to finish the handlebars portion.
All right, cool.
So the update one, I'm gonna try to speed it up because I know you guys got shit to do, and this is recorded anyway. But please stop me if you still have questions. So, const query, where was I? Fuck. Oh, callback function. We're gonna pass up the results. So these look confusing right now, but we're just gonna do this. That was a nice mental break. Oh man, I feel so much better. So in this update one, we're gonna do ORM and we're gonna do dot update one. We're going to pass in burgers because that is the name of the table. The values we are going to pass in, we're actually going to pass it in up here. It's going to be called update data. We're going to pass that here. And then I'm actually going to call this right here, const condition equals, oh, yeah. Shit, I just realized something. Whatever, we'll fix it in a second. So const condition equals okay, this will work. Const condition equals, and then we're gonna say ID equal to, and then we're gonna say like update data.id. And then after we do that, we're gonna say delete update data.id. Why do you guys think I did that? There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm not in the mood to fix it. So we put the table name, we put the values, which is the updated data. Condition, we're gonna say condition, which is literally just the ID equals and then updated data.id. And then it takes a callback function, so I'll pass a function here. I'll call it results data. And then again, I'm gonna pass a callback function up here, callback function here. Oh my gosh. Wait, that was right.
So is that actually, quick question, is that why I see CB all over the place?
Exactly.
Like when, okay, so see people just shorten it to CB.
Yeah, but I feel like writing it out is like helpful. To
It makes a lot more sense when you type it out, yeah.
All right. So now the reason why I did this right here is because in the burger controller, when I called this put route, the request.body is going to have like the request.body. It's going to be like ID, some number, devoured, true, and then like burger underscore name, whatever, right? So the issue that we had here, so I'm going to drag the burger here really quick. I deleted updated data.id, which I'm going to get when I call burger dot update one, and I'm going to pass it the request.body, and then the function with the results, and then res.json the results. So give me a second. There we go. Okay, so the reason why we have to delete the ID here is because the request.body is going to contain all of this bullshit right here. And then inside the ORM, we're doing this convert object to SQL. So technically, we are going to be putting the ID in where we want to set, which is not what we want to do. Did that make sense? See how we're saying update the table name, set the values in that values object here, but the values is containing these three. So I deleted the ID, so it won't, that won't happen. And I set it here on the condition, and then I don't need the ID anymore, so I deleted it. So let's just check and see if this works. I hope to God it works. To make this work, we're gonna have to go to database, and we're gonna change. How about ID 1? And we're gonna change that to true. So right, 0 is false, so we're gonna try to change that to 1. So I'm gonna change this to put. I'm gonna change this to raw. I'm gonna change this to JSON. I'm gonna say ID is 1. I'm gonna change the burger name to updated burger. And then I'm gonna say devour true. Okay, so if I play my cards right and I hit send, shit. Oh, that's not good. So let's see what we got going on. Oh, my server's dead. That's funny. I forgot I killed my server. So we'll just restart another instance. Okay. So if I try this again, well, I didn't get anything, so I don't know if that's good or bad. Did I get an error? I mean, sure. Let's go check our workbench. Uh-oh. So something's broken. It didn't work. So
Can you see which lines console log that updated burger true? Because like it might be the burgers line 21 that's doing that.
burgers line 21. Well, let's see. We're sending that back. So that means that you want me to console log results then?
Yeah, because see if it's even getting to the API.
Okay. So ID is 1, burger underscore name, devoured true. That looks good. Change it to put, make sure it's good. Okay. What do we get? Undefined. Okay. So
Was it what you were said that you were gonna fix, but then you said you weren't in the mood to fix it? Is that what is broken? Whatever that was?
probably. No, maybe it's because of this code. I think that might be inflicting it.
Because it's just because the API is just not getting an object, right? That's why it's not happy.
Yeah. So what's console log result here to actually make sure it's working? 4M result. Ah, shoot. You know what I didn't do? Would have been nice. So now we'll actually get our error results. Okay, so let's try hitting it again. Okay, let's figure it out. Burger. So that's right, but this isn't right. Did I?
I think it wasn't it like almost the exact same error you were getting when you had quotes where you didn't need them.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, the backticks.
Let's see here. I'm gonna give myself some more screen. Update table name set, convert object to SQL.
Was it in another folder or?
I'm not sure.
Not folder, but I mean file.
What do you guys think? Oh, wait. It might be in the burger. You might be right. Updated data, condition. Oh, what's updated data here? Burgers. Updated data. Okay. Devoured true. You know what? Instead of trying to change the burger name, let me just try to change the devoured to true. Maybe that will be nice. No? Oh, well, I didn't restart the server. My bad. Okay. Well, it's working, just not for our burger name. See how it got changed to 1 now?
Yeah.
So you guys want to investigate why, or you want to pass?
Could you just like maybe copy paste the error and then just the error that we were getting before when you were trying to change the name also, and then because I do kind of want to figure that out, but
Yeah, I want to figure it out too.
just not right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's kind of interesting though.
I think here I'll like put a comment somewhere in the code, and I'll put it in the ORM. I have a feeling that maybe when we're doing the keys, it's not detecting the underscore. Like maybe if I change it to camel case, it will, you know?
Because look at where it's saying it's using syntax to use near, and then it's just starting with burger. But I think it's taking a string space maybe. Do you have updated burger as a space instead of like, and so it's just reading that as like.
You know what? I also noticed where it says burger and then comma. Should there be a space there? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, you mean in the burger
It
JS?
says burger,
Well, because like
comma, devoured equals true.
do you remember
And it's all close together. And I was like, wondering, does it need to be space in there? According to that error.
It's just because there's no underscore here that says.
Can raw JSON have spaces?
No, it can't.
So you had a space in the raw JSON that you were trying to put.
Did I?
Yeah, you had updated space burger.
Let's see how it's underscore there.
No, like in the but that's in a string, so it should be fine.
Here, let's try changing it to camel case. How about that?
And
I don't. What we have to do since we changed it there is we have to.
Wait, I don't know if that would be it though.
Here, we'll just see if it strings it together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, that's not gonna work, and then we'll go burger, comma, devoured equal true. So it looks like it's screwing up here. What is object when it comes into here? Maybe I just have something that's changing it somewhere. No idea.
Mhm.
Any ideas, guys? I'd be very open.
Trying to think, yeah.
So burger name is good there. Well,
Do, hmm. I want to say it's still an issue with quotes somewhere. It's like quotes and backticks. That's what's throwing either that or spaces. That's what's throwing it off.
Would that be in the burger controller thing? Because I think you were in there too.
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna console log the keys, and if it's cutting it off because of this method, then we'll know it for sure. That sounds like a good. Okay. So keys, burger name, colon. What?
It's not even reading the name.
No, you see how keys has for devour doesn't have a colon after it, but burger name does.
Mm-hmm. And burger name shouldn't, or it should.
It shouldn't have that. Colon.
Go back to your post, man, because that's how you're sending it, right?
Yeah. Oh fuck.
Okay. Okay.
That's one issue. Wait, I gotta restart the server. All right. You know what? Fine. What we're gonna do, just in case, is we're gonna say key plus, because maybe it's an issue with ES6 or something. Okay. Okay, different error. Key is not defined. Oh. Oh, shit.
You have an error in your SQL syntax. To use near at line 2. What does it mean by line 2, you think? Like in the error where it says in the node thing?
Right here.
Yeah, what does it mean by line 2?
Good.
In like the does the MySQL server have like a console or something?
Not that I know of. It might have a log somewhere, but is it when we maybe it's because let's test and see like what it's returning. And then that way we can know if it's just something with like SQL. Okay. Oh, that's weird. You see that?
Where did you just add that console log? In the that's in object to SQL.
So it's like a
I just don't think I don't like just try naming the burger like
I-
one name or one word or something. Like when you update it,
I legit think that's the issue right there.
let
I didn't declare it. It could be
keys and ob. You just wrote keys and object.
Yeah.
Oh,
That might be the issue. No.
You have NodeMon, or was it running again?
Yeah, it's running. Here, let me.
Yeah, I killed it again.
Well, we know the issue. It's doing this wrong.
I mean, what if though you just name it like one word, the burger? Just call it like blue burger or something. I don't know. Like just one word though. When you update it.
Okay, just call it name.
No, not there. Like the string that you're giving it. Like
Oh,
that's what I think the error is. Is I think that you have two words there, but just give it one. Maybe I don't know.
like that?
Yeah, I have no idea, but just try.
Probably is right.
Unknown column burger name in field list because it's an underscore. But if you change that, I don't know.
Interesting. So,
But that does have to do with like that parser though, you know, because it should have parsed the space properly.
right. Updated in field list. I'm sorry, what?
Devoured maybe. Wait, what? Updated in field list?
The fuck? Why is it tripping?
Because that's a burger object, right?
Right. That's the key. So it's confusing itself with the key.
Why do we do this? Why don't we just use SQLize? Like,
Right?
this is so pointless.
And that, sir, is why
So what about the thing that you were trying to delete? You said to delete an ID and you had to do it because of some reason that you didn't want to fix.
Oh no,
What
it's
is
not. It's not that. It's something to do with the parsing.
Hmm.
Wait, this looks right now.
Yeah, but now the error is unknown column updated in field list. But why is it taking updated for a column? Try changing like ID number 2's devoured, maybe?
Okay.
I don't know.
That's confusing. Well, we could just say fuck it and leave it like this for now.
Like I had an error issue with
That works.
the homework that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
To where I was trying to do like some scrape thing, and it was like returning in an object, but it was almost an object, but it wasn't. And Alec wasn't able to help me, but Marcelo figured it out in like a second. So I don't know. Maybe he might.
You've probably seen it before.
It's just like one of these stupid things that nobody ever has to run into.
Right. So now I'm just going to remove the consoles. But in a sense of this application, we're not changing the name anyway.
Right. We're just updating it to be eaten.
Yeah, so it just would have been nice if we could. But it's being a bitch, so.
Hey, the skateboard works.
Sometimes this is what happens in development, man. You just gotta say Scrappy Coco.
Like, hello world works, just send it.
Exactly. So that should pull all of them. Scrappy Coco, LOL. Yay, you knew what I was talking about. Name that movie.
No idea.
Scrappy Coco.
Is that the movie?
No, it's just a catchphrase, isn't it? Okay.
Well, now I need to know the movie.
It's Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Okay, all right.
Pretty great. All right. You guys want to see the handlebars portion?
If you can do it quick, yeah.
The whole entire back end is done.
Just like real quick, if you can do it, because it might help.
All right, for sure. So in order to configure the server to work with handlebars, we need to say const express express h Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was doing that right. I'm going to say express dash handlebars, and then I'm going to npm install that. So now it should be in my package JSON. Yep. Okay. And then now we need to say app.use, and this is very important for serving up our application. What's up, man? Oh, thanks, Dad. You got me Wiener Schnitzel. Oh, let's go.
Pastrami, baby.
Oh, suck it, guys. I
One
got
is-
food.
Gina got it for you.
Oh, thanks, Gina. It's cooking. You want to say hi to students?
Who are the students?
Oh my goodness.
Hi, Pops.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Justin, super helpful, like unbelievably helpful.
Really? Oh, that's good. Good. I'm glad you guys are learning from him.
Yes, he's an excellent teacher.
All right. All right.
Well,
All
thanks.
right. Well, my dinner is here, so I gotta go eat. You know.
All right.
Nice.
All right. You guys have a good time.
Nice to meet you.
See you too. How many more are like you over there? Quite a few.
Yeah, there's a lot of students. Okay. Hey, can you shut my fucking door? Thanks, Dad.
Where did Jenna go? She's still in.
Yeah, she's still in the bathroom. Okay. Okay. Bye.
Too funny.
I apologize.
No need to.
All right. So, cool. So now we have to actually configure handlebars to work in our app. So configure handlebars. We're going to say app.engine. Oh, gosh. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to use handlebars. And then this package that we imported, we're actually going to copy paste that down here. And we're going to open up this, open up that. We're going to say default layout. And we're going to say main. And then we have to set the engine by saying app.set view engine handlebars. So that should be it for that. Yeah, that's it for now. And we have to create the handlebar structure. So that's going to be the views file. And then inside the views, we're going to have the index.handlebars. We're going to create another folder in there called the layouts. And this is all boilerplate code. So you're going to see this everywhere. Main.handlebars. So in the main, you're always going to have just an HTML file or HTML snippet like this. But in the body, you're just going to have something like this. I think it might be 3, actually. Yeah. You have 3. So whenever you are importing files, you always import them into this. Just always import them into this page, because you don't want to import them into like all these pages right here. That doesn't matter. And that'll make sense later. So here's our body, here's our main index. If I just say, hello world, if I go to my server, go to my controller, on the get route, I'll do res.render, and then I'll say index. So if I actually go to my localhost 3000, and go to API/burgers, I get hello world, right? But that's not optimal. We want this to technically be that, right? But see how that doesn't line up to that structure? Like, see how we have API burgers, API that, and those are post and put, but for the get, we have this. It doesn't match the API/burgers.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is create a routes folder. Routes index.js. I'm going to say app const app equals require express, and then again we'll do the dot router trick. We'll do module.exports equals to the app. In the server file, we will just say const HTML routes equals require, like that. So here's that right here. So we'll do app.get function request response, and then res.render index, like that, right? So now if we actually go back to this page, we'll get hello world. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? App.views. And there we go. So now on page load, we're going to be querying all that data for the burgers, because we want to just show them on the page when the page loads, if you guys remember.
Does the index.js file is that only responsible for rendering the index, not for any JS that's happening on the page, right?
Right. So
Right.
you put your JS in the main.
Okay. Like all the links, like you said.
Yeah, literally throw all your CSS in there.
Okay.
It'll be able to detect it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna import burger because that's connected to our ORM. So const burger equals require. And then that way I can say burger dot find all, and then give it a callback function. Results. And then throw that in there, and then say handlebars obj :results. Okay. So now when I go to this page load, if I go to my inspector, actually, that's weird. Okay, sure. Will it show it? I'm not sure if it will. Whatever. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna go get Bootstrap. Get starting. Get this. Jeez. I just want that one. So I'm gonna go to the main, and I'm gonna put that up here. I don't care about anything else. I'm gonna go get a components. Dang, they changed this website a little bit. Okay. So in the index, I'm just gonna throw that there. There we go. That took a while to load in. I was kind of scared. All right, so div.container. There we go. Cool. And then we'll just grab like a card. Let's grab one of these. Fuck it. And then we'll just say div dot row div dot call md6, and then we'll have two of those.
Could you link to whatever like library you're using for that autocomplete? Because I've tried to find a few that work kind of like that, but I've never been able to find one that is like that clean.
What do you mean?
Like when you is div dot row, like can I just do that in
Yeah, that's built into HTML.
okay, it has to be HTML. Okay.
Yeah. And then so this class right here, I'm gonna say like not devoured. Wait, shit. Right here, I'm gonna put it. And then I'm gonna say.
Okay, yeah, you were right. It does work. It's cool.
Yeah, it's super handy. So I'm gonna render all the not devoured burgers here, and then the devoured burgers here. And the way that I'm gonna do that is I'm going to say hashtag each, and then I'm going to close it. I'm going to encompass the card. And is that how you send it? For each, I believe I called it H. Okay, I called it that.
I didn't know you could do unless. Okay.
Right. So you can do unless, and then wrap that into each. So what that does is it should render all the ones
And
that
you,
are not devoured.
so you just give it a condition like that.
Right. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Ah. So I don't know if those are all the ones that are not devoured.
Mm-hmm.
I will know as soon as I do it for this one, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to actually just copy this whole thing because it's the same. Oh, yes. And then instead of unless, I'm just going to say if. And then that should fix it. Oh, shit.
Okay.
Okay.
Dude,
So,
it's like front end is actually making sense now. Yeah, seeing it. Yeah.
so now, just to make sure this does work,
If you just like get the title on there, and then I think I can figure out the rest too. I mean, I think I can already do it, but
yeah, I think you got it from here.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Really? I don't think I have it from here, but okay.
Well, because like when you would just set that click button to like devour burger or something.
I mean, it only takes me like a quick second to like finish it.
For sure. Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's do it, guys.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Can't express that enough, honestly.
You understand backend like a master now?
Backend stuff was all right, but front, forget about it. This is helping though for sure.
So I just updated another one to true. So if it's
Mhm.
we should see another one here.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're gonna do now is grab a quick form. Just take. I just want the email address one. Whatever.
And this is where you'll input the burger in that form field.
Exactly. So we'll do div.row, div.call, md12, and then that should put it in the grid. Come on. There we go. So we're going to remove the stuff we don't need, which is that. We're going to say burger name. Text. Okay. And on this input tag, I'm going to put an ID because we're going to latch onto it in the future. So I'm going to say submit or burger name. And then for the button, I'm also going to give that of ID submit burger submit.
What is this for exactly? Is this a game or is it a restaurant thing? I'm just trying to put it into some kind of context that I understand what it is that I'm supposed to get out of this.
Really, this is just an application to teach you CRUD. That's
Okay.
how to do it. There was really no point to it, but other than that idea.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out, what it's doing. Okay.
Right.
I think basically just like you're basically creating the logic to like make this imaginary burger, like store it somewhere, and then like do all that stuff to it.
Right.
That's just the idea, I guess.
So we're gonna get rid of the image, the card body. Honestly, I'm gonna type in here. Since we're inside of this handlebars object, we can do this dot
This dot name or burger name.
right. And that should. All right. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I'll grab a button here really quick.
I can't believe you had duty burgers, Justin.
Bro, they're great. You don't understand. Okay. Devour. So check that out. Cool. So I'm also going to put attributes onto this button because that's how we're going to do the on-click methods for each of these buttons. So that way when I click this one, it will know to go here. If I click this one, it will know to go there. So the way I do that, I'm going to say data-id is equal to, let's see. If I go to Postman, I can know what the thing looks like. So I can say this.id. So I'll say this.id. And then I'm just going to add my own devoured.
Wait, sorry. So that's inside of handlebars. You can do that. Data ID equals this dot ID.
Yep.
Hmm.
Super helpful. This is actually more relevant, like at any job, you'll do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
You'll add attributes onto elements so you can click them.
So you can make like elements into objects, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So data dash devoured. I'm gonna just give that a value of true for when they click the button. So if we actually reload this page and actually inspect the page, click on this button, see how we have the ID there and the data attributes there. So last thing, we're like legit almost done. So I'll go grab the jQuery CDN so we can do jQuery commands. I'm gonna grab the minified version, copy to clipboard, and then I am going to store that in the main handlebars here. I'm going to put it right here. And then in the public folder, so actually this part right here is where we serve the static public folder. This is very important.
I learned that in project 2. We were when we were trying to, and exactly what we're trying to do right now, trying to do jQuery trying to do jQuery on handlebars took me like an entire weekend to figure out. But yeah. This part I understand it, so you can just explain it.
Cool. So I'm just going to call it app.js. I'm going to move it in there. I never know if it's that's in the JS folder, right?
It's in, yes, because if you click JS, does it go away?
Yeah, it does. Oh, I hate that.
It's in the new update, isn't it? I hate that.
Yeah. I'm just doing a document.ready so the page waits for all the stuff to load. And what I'm now going to do is code the portion where if I click this button, it will move over to here. Sound fair enough? And then also I'll code this where we submit and it creates it here.
Mm-hmm.
So which one do you want to see first?
Moving it over, I guess.
Okay, yeah, that's the hardest part. So if you remember, I gave this a class devour. So I can do devour on tricky. I'm gonna do it like this. Document on click devour devour burger. Why did I do it like that?
What's the second parameter?
The class name.
Oh, okay. Oh, and you would normally give that anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Const.
And that's the HTML class, you mean?
Yeah, so this represents every single button. So for example,
Okay. So when that button's clicked, yep.
So I'm gonna do this.
And then you, instead of giving, well, I mean, you did give it callback, but you're just defining it outside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if I do this, I should get the ID console to like whatever.
Yep.
Nope.
Data ID.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even import it. So I got to go to the
main.
Yes, I got to go to main. And then I'm going to do script src, and then I'm just going to do JS, and then I'm going to do app.js. And the whole entire reason why I don't have to do like, you know, the like just to get like out of this and then into this is because we're serving up the public folder
Statically, right?
Yeah, so now the directory is just based off that. Right?
Yep. That took me forever to figure out because I had public, like after everything else, the issue that I had was that I had public in the src file. So it was like, it wouldn't work.
Right.
Even after fixing everything else, it still wasn't working.
Just so irritating.
Yeah.
I remember running into that issue at a hackathon. So see how these all now have the IDs when I click them?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm also going to get the name or the devoured value. You remember what I called it? Data dash.
Wait, no, I actually don't remember. Is it something like that?
I thought it was devour.
Yeah, devoured. Okay. Like that. So we're going to console log this and see if it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
True. So all those should be true, right? Because you're setting them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really what I could do is not even worry about this attribute.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the index, what I probably and what you most likely want to do is just
like
get rid of this. You don't need it.
Okay.
Because what we're going to do instead is create an object called burger object, and we're going to set it equal. We're going to say burger underscore name, and then we're going to say, or I'm sorry, ID is that. And then we're going to say devoured, true. There we go.
Do you need a space between the equal signs and the never mind? Never mind.
And then now we just have to make our Ajax call. So you do URL and then to the route, which is API/burgers. The method is going to be of type put. Yep, because we're updating. Data is going to be the burger object.
And then then
function response console.log response.
So the then is just for the console log, like that doesn't necessarily even need to be there, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Or if you want to catch the error,
Okay.
you do a dot catch here. But
so Ajax calls can just be like .ajax, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're gonna go back here and we're gonna click one and see how it got
Now
changed.
it's an object, yeah.
So if I refresh the page, we should have another one over here. See? I'm actually gonna change the HTML to where we got
Like
this.
the titles or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be this dot burger underscore
Name.
Yep. And then get rid of this and then
There's another, I think another little caret thing there.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Right there.
Scroll down.
Am I good?
Yeah, that was it.
Sick. So notice how I had to refresh the page in order to see that happen, right? So what I'm going to do instead, well, also in additional to this console log, so I'm just going to do window.location.reload.
Okay. So every time the button gets clicked?
Yep. So if I do this. Oh, what the heck? Oh, I didn't refresh the page. See?
So is it automatically refreshing it when you do that?
Yeah, so every time it makes this API request, it's going to just reload the page.
Oh, okay.
And then the last thing is to add, right? So to do that, I'm going to inspect element again. I'm going to latch onto this button, which is burger-submit. So I'm going to do and I'm just going to say response burger object, and then I'm going to say burger underscore name is going to be whatever I put the ID of this input tag, which is burger name. Val, I have to do .val because it's an input tag. I can't do .text. So I can't do .text. I have to do .val input tag, and then I'm also going to trim it down. And then I'm just going to set devoured false. And then I'm just going to redo this Ajax call. I'm going to change the method to post because we're creating.
Yep. That's it really, right?
We should be done after that. So let's close this out. New burger. Uh-oh.
Wait, okay, so you're still doing the API is not getting anything?
Maybe I just didn't refresh the page. No. So yeah, it looks like that request is not being made.
Because you're not even getting console log response in the browser, are you?
Yeah, I don't think so. So let's go try Postman to see if it works this way. So we had burger underscore name, devoured, false. Okay, so it works here.
Mm-hmm.
So if I refresh the page, I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So why isn't it? Oh, maybe I have an error. Let's check the console.
It's refreshing before you can look at it.
So you know what we got to do?
You have to do that, what is it, where you keep it from going again?
Right. What did
I
you?
can't think of the name of it.
Come on, guys. What was it?
Prevent.
Prevent default, yeah.
There you go. So now, oh shit.
You prevented it. Oh.
You get a console log in the browser window?
There we go.
What would you do?
It didn't like the fact that I was passing false, so I just changed it to 0.
How did you know that?
Because 0 means false.
For MySQL, right?
No, just in programming logic. 0 is false, 1 is true. It's just something I picked up as a habit. It's like if it doesn't do it,
Okay.
I would. So I mean, that was full stack in a legit nutshell.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I guarantee you that if you rewatch this video and practice this solution,
Like 5,000 times?
at least 4,
Okay.
you will learn a lot.
Definitely did.
Yeah.
So,
already.
Thank you, Justin, for spending so much time and, helping us to understand. Thank you so much for your intellect. I appreciate it.
For sure. Do you get a lunch tomorrow?